night. Good night, Hans Grove. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for staying, and thank you very much for having us, the Alliance for Change.
Hold the microphone out.
I'd like to say on behalf of the Alliance for Change Executive, our presidential candidate, Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan, and Prime Ministerial candidate, Mrs. Sheila Holder, it is a pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, the presidential candidate and Prime Ministerial candidate could not be here, but they send you our regards. I would just like to endorse what my fellow colleagues have said earlier. I'd like to implore you to tell you that this is the most opportune time for Guyanese to create a change for them. This is for the country, it's for the children, it's for everyone. The first thing I would like to implore all of you to do is ensure that you register. Because without being registered, you can't vote. And registration not only has to do with voting, it's obviously the registration process. You'll be able to use that ID card for other matters. Voting, and as plenty speakers will say, sometimes they push back the election, I'm sure, because of the Alliance for Change. It's supposed to be in August. They looked around, they realized the Alliance for Change was hot on their heels, about to overtake them, so they moved it back. And they're going to move it back on to the very last possible day. However, come November, I think October, November, the elections will be held. It is incumbent on all of you to come out and vote. Because people keep saying it's every 5 years, but I like to look at it in more detail. It's actually, between elections, it's 1,825 days. And if you don't vote, every single day, 1,825 days, you will be getting up with a headache. Worrying, cussing yourself for not using the opportunity, at least giving yourself the opportunity and this country for bettering ourselves. Because I can tell you for the last 5 years, I'm not going to go into history, for the last 5 years, and I'm sure all you can attest this, it's the first time in Guyana's history such a small group of people became so rich in such a short space of time. A very small group, very small cabal. So rich, I mean they're building skyscrapers, houses, massive houses, you know what I mean? Me and you trying to just repair the same old shack that we've been living in all these years. But a small group of people. The president and his cabal building massive building. They not satisfied Pradoville 1, they gone to Pradoville 2. They run a special water main straight to that community. Me and you in these communities here, in these villages, have to contend with dry work. One day, 8 hours water, one day none at all. That is what the Alliance for Change wants to change. Now, the first thing the Alliance for Change will do, one of the very first things we're going to do is change our constitution. No more in the history of Guyana should one man stand up and dictate what the rest of us should do. Master Days done long now. The president, with his powers of immunity and all the vast powers under the constitution, and this is the constitution they used to call the Burnham Constitution, because it was first derived under President Burnham, late President Burnham in the 1980s. When that happened, oh God, they screamed blue heavens. Soon as they get into power, they get up and say this is the most progressive constitution in the world. This allows one man, the president, to come and cuss anybody down. He gets up and he stands and he cuss anybody down. He can tell you who is a man hater, who is a man this, who's push cocaine in pepper sauce. He says anything because he's immune. But I tell you, the day after elections, I want to see if he got more seats than Sibian. After the election, when the AFC comes in, I want to hear phew from him. We will deal with him. Whilst a small set of persons are getting rich, filthy rich, the vast majority of Guyanese have gotten poorer. Longer days, my mother, nostalgic, tells me how much she could have done and how she was able. I am come from a family of four. My father was a public servant, and she's able every day. She regales me how, as a public servant, he was able to educate all of us. We never went hungry. We never really wanted anything. Now, there is hardly any public servant, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. There's hardly any public servant mother and family that could stay home. There's hardly any single earning family, especially if the father's working in the public service, that can survive. Every single thing has gone up. On the Alliance for Change government, when we're giving out pay raises, I want to tell you all something. You notice when they give you a pay increase, they give you just around Christmas time. Huh? It's always in the single digit, 5%, 3%. But when they take your money from you, it's always in the double digit. VAT is 16%, income tax is 33.3%. All of that, the Alliance for Change will change soon be soon government. In fact, we're reducing VAT right from 60% to 12%. Right away, we give you back 4% of your money. Teachers, nurses, doctors, every single person will have a minimum tax-free, minimum of $50,000 tax-free. No taxes on that whatsoever. We understand your plight, and we are here to address your plight. I want to tell you all folks, you see all these billions of dollars that the government says they spend, it's our money. It's your money. It's our money we pay from VAT. Your money we pay from taxes. And they take our money. This year was $160-something billion. And they spend it on whatever they want, however they want, siphon off quite a large portion in corruption, and then they tell us we should be thankful for what they give us. Nothing don't fall down, no crumbs, nothing at all falls down. But they tell us that we should be very, very thankful for what they do. Yesterday, a very lavish opening ceremony. They opened Enmore packaging plant. Immediately they told us, oh, we have a sweeter future. You know what the government didn't tell you? Where the sugar can come from. Where we can get the extra sugar from to use that plant. Sugar, which was the backbone of the PPP supporters. The sugar industry is failing. They're putting a presidential candidate now who was on the board of the sugar estate all these years. He sat over the entire decline. And now when anybody asks him, he said, oh, well, I was there, I was only doing policies. It's like if you put the headmaster in charge of a school and all the students failing, and you ask him, sir, what do you do? And he can tell you, well, it's not his fault. Well, it is his fault. Yeah, it is his fault. Sugar is in decline. And they put in a man that put sugar in decline, and they want him to run this country. Imagine we'd be worse off if you all even consider him. Next thing all y'all, last time, in 2005, I was in Anne's Grove, Cranbrook area. That was during the flood. I came, as Ms. Punala told you, I came with the Rotary Club, and we were doing some assisting persons affected by the flood. And now I hear, to alleviate your flood, they're They dig in a canal in hope. Folks, every single body, $4 billion, every single engineer, except the government engineers, telling them that's not going to work. It's going to be a gutter to nowhere, a $4 billion gutter to nowhere. But they proceeded. The contract, they're doing the contract themselves. The NDIA doing the contract themselves. You ever hear that? They buy plenty drag lines and plenty bulldozers. But that will not alleviate the problem. Actually, to be honest, you may end up worse. You, the villagers, the both sides of the hook, can all end up worse in the long run. People tell them all you got to do, like used to be done in the thing, dredge the canals in front, dredge the outfalls so the water could flow. Because if the water can't flow through the outfalls, you can build as many drains as you want, but it won't help. But that's what they're doing. And they can tell you, they come here and they'll tell you that it's good for you. Bitter medicine is good for you. And if you don't get in bed, if you don't get in better, something wrong with you. Then they come to, you mean, in villages, every time I come to villages like this, people always complain. That's how they have some community projects, whereby they would hire some of our youth, some of our persons to do community work. But these community projects, they end up favors for the few. They appoint one person, and that person now becomes the master or the mistress of the village. If you say anything bad, if you disagree with them, you can't get any job. So, well, the lines will change with the way with all of that. Everybody will be employed. Every single person will get a job. So therefore, no one person, you don't have to join our party. All we ask you to do is vote for us. You don't have to join our party to get a job. You don't have to suck up for anybody to get a job. You've got to give no any bribes. It is our presidential candidate, Mr. Kemrat Ramjitan, always tell you that 16% of every project goes out in bribes. So therefore, if we have $100 billion budget, $16 billion. That's how come that fuel is $16 billion annually goes out in bribes. That's the first thing the alliance will change. There's going to be a day of reckoning on the alliance will change. You know what I mean? We will not be doing a witch hunt. We don't believe in that. Guyana is for all Ghanaians. But there are some evil people, some corrupt people. And unfortunately, folks, evil and corrupt people will have to pay. We will have a truth and reconciliation session whereby you can give them a chance to confess your sins and reintegrate in society. Otherwise, the full arm of the law will take care of you. Under the Alliance for Change government, under my Alliance for Change government, we will be introducing jobs, vocational training, as Arif told you, whereby not only students can go to universities, they can learn a trade. Guyana is too blessed to be so stressed. UG students, people who want to go to UG, we will be implementing a different system whereby it would not be so much of a burden for parents to be able to be saddled with university fees. Anyone that wants an education in Guyana on the Alliance for Change government will get them. We will introduce in small industries. We will give incentives to anyone that wants to be their own boss. Because Guyanese are the most innovative persons in the world. And we don't realize it, we don't actually flourish until we leave Guyana. But on the Alliance for Change government, we want to ensure that you stay here and you develop this country. And if you have to leave, circumstances, you put in for your visa long before the Alliance for Change government comes in. We want to make this country so good that you have a tear in your eye when you have to go. And the only thought in your mind will be when you will coming back to Guyana. We want to ensure that we want to bring back national pride. People must be proud to be Guyanese. So therefore, I mean, when you leave Guyana, they don't treat us like second-class citizens anymore. You know, I mean, I went to Barbados, and there is a Guyana bench. And the only reason there could be a Guyana bench where they could put Guyanese is because we have no pride in ourselves. This government has brought down national pride. We haven't had national awards, imagine that. We haven't had national awards in 8 years. What this government is saying to us is, none of you, no Guyanese, there's not a Guyanese deserving of being recognized. That is the level of which they brought us down. Of course, under an Alliance for Change government, all of these will change. Housing, my colleague was talking about housing. No longer will we have a policy to get a house lot. You got to be a single mother with 2 children. If a young man wants to get married, he can't get married now unless he moves back in with his parents. On the Alliance for Change government, you reach 18 years old, get a piece of land. There's enough land for everybody. And it'll be done impartially. You just simply bring in your ID, your birth certificate, and we go through and say where the land can be allocated. We'd also, and then we recognize that there will be persons, there will be some mothers, some single parent families, who, even with their best efforts, will not be able to build their own home. In our action plan, what we propose to do is build homes provided to single parents, single farms, small families, needy families, persons, rent at a very minimal rent until such time that they get on their feet and they can build their own. So we're not going to leave you out to pasture, because we recognize a mother of 4, a single mother of 4 has other needs. She has to feed her children, and she has to send them to school. So under our government, we will look at that. Crime and security, that's a big issue. That's another issue we will be addressed. We will pay police men and women better. Much better than they are now. However, with that increase in pay, we will also ask them to be more respectful, be reminded of their duties. No more do we want policemen and women just frivolously turning up a road corners and picking up our youths. No more on the Alliance for Change government will you hear that some young man was picked up and then the next day, he's been around your community all his life. The next day they pick him up, after they pick him up he's wanted. We will ask, we will pay our policemen and women better, we will equip them better. We will be asking the Americans and English, the Scotland Yard has offered to come and train our policemen. This government refused. You know why they refused? Because they recognize the first set of persons a professional police force will investigate is them and their corrupt family. But the Alliance for Change have nothing to worry about. So we will take the British up on that offer. What we will ask our policemen and women to do is to act professionally. Because the motto of the police service is to protect and serve. However, even me, and I tell you as a member of parliament, I keep saying this wherever I go, even me as a member of parliament, when I see a police roadblock, I always get scared. Especially on a Friday afternoon, because I know they pick you up on a Friday afternoon, you're seeing hope till Monday. That, if they act professionally, these will not happen. And those are the things that the Alliance for Change government will to ensure. We want to ensure that villages such as this, Angrove, Cronbrook, get local government reform so they get their own money and they spend their own money on things that are important to them. No more should there be a minister of local government sitting down somewhere in Kingston telling you which drain to dig, which road to do, which bridge to fix. You in Cranbrook, you in Ansgrove know which is the most important to you. You know the best contractors who can do it. Because if you don't do it, you live right in your community, you can sanction it. We will institute and ensure that they have local government elections under a reformed system whereby the communities collects their money and spends their money as they see fit. So therefore, you don't have to be beholden to the central government anymore. These are the things we want to give all the power, give the power back to our people. And only then should the communities develop. Folks, this is a silly season. And it's the start of the silly season. Between now and election day, several other parties, the PNC, the PPP, they will come up here and tell you similar problems and promises. One difference between the Alliance for Change and all the other parties, you have to judge us on our record so far. You can judge the PNC on their record. They were here 20 years ago. You can judge the PPP on their current performance. And I say to you, if you can get up tomorrow or tonight as you're going home, and if you could honestly ask yourself, if your life is better now, if your life is better now than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, then there's no need for the Alliance for Change, if you consider your life better. But if you are ambitious, if you dare to dream, if you want your children not to suffer, not to go through the hardships like you have, we offer ourselves and our services to you. Vote us in. Judge us on our record. We have no baggage. We have no contractors to pay, no payback. We will, from day one, work to ensure that Guyana achieves its potential. Too long we've been hearing about the amount of potential Guyana has. Under the Alliance for Change government, every man and woman, child, will be part of the process of moving our country forward. Folks, I'd like to thank you very much for staying here. I'd like to implore you to get registered. Listen, dissect the good from the bad during this season. Remember that the government controls the state media. When you get the Chronicle, read it backwards, as a presidential candidate gets you. Read it backwards, turn it upside it down, read it from right to left. When NCN and those people give a newscast, think about it, listen, and consider if it sounds right to you. If it don't sound right to you, think through it all. But during this season, you will hear a lot of things. You will hear the Alliance for Change in league with aliens, in league with people from outer space. You hear loads of vile things, personal attacks on our leaders and anybody that's willing to oppose the government. All we say to you is, think it through. If it don't make sense to you, it's not true at all. You hear from the PNC side, you'll hear stories about we selling out people. We're not selling out anybody. The biggest sellouts are them. What we want to do is ensure that you have the power to make things right. So with these words, folks, I'd like to thank you very much for coming. I'd like to implore you, go and get registered and put your X next to the key. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David, for sharing those very important policies and plan what the AFC has for the people. of this country. I want to share